We hear a great deal about male privilege these days, especially white male privilege. But of course, this is all nonsense. Now, many would point out that I would say that, being a white male. But I would like to put forward my thoughts on the subject of privilege, not as a militant cri de coeur by some irate men's rights activist, nor some pseudo-scientific claim. No, this is merely a personal observation. My opinion, if you will. My interpretation of what life thus far has shown me. For there exists in society one distinct group, which is privileged above all. The existence of this group, as well as the nature of it, is most likely a driving force in much of the dissatisfaction behind the feminist movement, at least to my mind. For the privileged group of which I speak, the one group over which people will fawn, though it possesses little if any skill, is that made up of young, attractive women. This group contains most women of a young age, not merely the exceptionally beautiful. It excludes those who are unattractive by a cruel quirk of nature, or those who have rendered themselves so by means of obesity. That said, few 20-year-old women are overly fat, even if they should become so in later life. And herein lies the problem. Young women are pretty much the most prized members of society. Men of all ages will seek to ingratiate themselves. So too will a great many women. Beauty possesses a magnetism all of its own, as well as a hierarchy. Life is comparatively easy for young women. Problems are solved for them. A smile or a flirtatious look can open a great many doors. The problem is, they have no means of comparison. To them, this state of affairs is normal. It is simply their reality after puberty. Thus one cannot really blame them for coming to feel entitled to the privilege they enjoy. For they themselves are blind to it. They know no different. They, each and every one of them, are the most attractive entity known to mankind. Their beauty and grace have great allure. Their sexuality possesses a power all of its own. Theirs and theirs alone is the choice. The rest of the world frantically circles around them, seeking to be chosen. And those who are not are rejected. And rejection is something about which the young, attractive woman herself knows very little. But cruel as nature is, at some point age takes its toll, and the attractiveness which raises the young woman above all else in society fades. So too is lost the privilege that comes with it. All the extra attention, all the extra patience, all the gifts, the little pleasantries, the smiles, they vanish. Suddenly one is exposed to the same harsh reality to which everyone else in society is exposed. Except that one has not been prepared for it. One still feels entitled. And thus now one feels betrayed. Men are bastards. Society is at fault. Patriarchy works against women. Yet none of these tropes comes anywhere near to explaining the truth, that the bitterness stems from a loss of unearned privilege. For the unfortunate fat or unattractive lady may indeed feel that life gets better for her with age, as an increased experience and knowledge gains her respect. But the attractive woman, despite becoming more knowledgeable and experienced with age, finds herself with less respect and attention than her youthful looks had gained her. She finds herself betrayed. The world had deceived her. Despite being a more mature, able and knowledgeable person, she is less valued by society than she previously was. This she deems unfair, and thus she demands something be changed. The fatal mistake is to demand that she receive equal or higher status to her former self. In doing so, she fails entirely to acknowledge the vast privilege she was afforded for having a taut, fertile, gravity-defying body. Meanwhile, the male, of course, is not subject to this stupendous, unearned privilege. If anything, he finds himself for most of his younger years trying to win the favour of one of the highly privileged young females. Much like the unattractive woman, he therefore exists in a much harsher environment right from the start. Thus for him too, things improve with age, as he gains more respect and status as he earns it. Most women therefore see a marked drop-off of their standing from their mid-20s to their 30s, while they perceive their male counterparts going up in the world. Thus the myth of patriarchy and male privilege is born. It stems not from a deep injustice favouring the male, it stems entirely from the young female enjoying a vast privilege within much of society, simply due to the desirability her looks afford her, and then seeing this privilege taken away from her, without even the slightest explanation. What so many fail to understand is that society does not make life deliberately harsher for the aging woman, nor does it somehow artificially elevate the male for no specific reason as he clocks up the years. No, it is the young female who is the privileged. She is the one whose face launches 1,000 ships. She is the veritable navel of the world, the centre of the maelstrom. For her kiss, her touch, her acknowledgement is what everyone craves. And herein lies the challenge to society. Not as feminists would have it, to ask men no longer to find young women desirable. For society must be subject to the human condition, not the other way round. But the challenge is to teach young women that these things are fleeting, that there can be no expectation of their lives continuing in the same fashion once they pass a certain age, that they, yes, they, acknowledge their privilege, the greatest privilege of all, the privilege of their being what they are, young, adorable women. The most beautiful, desirable thing on earth, more desirable than wealth or status, the objects of a desire driven by the power of nature herself, the privilege of the young woman. That is all from the cyberpast for now. Thank you very much, and goodbye.